every post you put on social media should have a purpose. So in this episode, what I want to do is show exactly how to use IG to make money. I'm going to go over what to post, but more importantly, how to convert people into customers from your posts themselves. What I'm going to do is include both what to say on the post itself, but also the tech behind the scenes and exactly how the automations are set up. So I'm going to tell you like what to use. I'm going to tell you exactly how to set up the automations so that Instagram actually makes you money instead of takes your time. Basically, what this episode is this is how to turn your IG into a machine that works for you instead of you working for it. But before I do that, I want to tell you about a book that I sell on Amazon, and I sell it for $23. It's called The Wealthy Fit Pro's Guide to Getting Clients and Referrals. As Amber knows, this book came out at a very weird time for our business, and so I hardly promoted it. I think I sent out one email about it at the time. But since then, it's actually gotten a really, really good underground following among some of the best marketers in our industry. And so I want to tell you about it. The book's got 3 parts. Part 1 is mostly theory, and it answers the question of why people pay for fitness when they can otherwise get it for free. Pretty important question to answer if you sell fitness. Part 2 includes over 50 ways to get clients from over 50 worldwide experts. For example, Mike Dola shows exactly how he got clients for his online nutrition company that he then sold for 8 figures and retired in his 30s. So like stuff that actually works. And then part 3 teaches referrals. So like I said, the book sells for $23. But I want to actually give you a free copy of this book in exchange for reviewing the podcast. Yeah, that's right, Amber. You didn't expect that.
This sounds like work coming my way.
So, no, this has no work on your end, Amber. Love you.
Yes, then I love it.
This is not one of those you emails that I forward to you multiple times a day. So here's what you do. On either Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening to this, please leave a 5-star review. Take a screenshot of that review and email it to obviouschoicepod, that's P-O-D, at gmail.com. If you're on YouTube, you can't review it, that's fine. Subscribe to the channel and just use that as the screenshot. And if you've already reviewed the show, thank you. Just screenshot the homepage of the show and send that along to the email. Again, add a 5-star rating for the podcast, screenshot it, send it to obviouschoicepod at gmail.com, and I'll reply back with a link of how you can access the Wealthy Fit Pro's Guide to Getting Clients and Referrals in both digital and audio formats for free. These instructions copied below in the caption description of the episode, so you can get the email exactly right. Okay, let us start then with this. Social media's goals are not your goals. Social media platforms are for-profit enterprises. Their primary way to make money is by selling advertising. None of this is a surprise. It's a relatively simple equation. The more people spend time on the app, the richer the owners and the investors of the companies become. And in order for that to happen, they needed to convince millions of people to create content every single day, or said another way, work for free for them to feed their system. So through a combination of addictive design elements, misdirected data insights, and promises of just this inexplicable outlier success, they've actually achieved their goal. I think that what these social media companies have done is one of the greatest magic tricks of modern times. There's an example that I give in the book, and this is a message that came to me a while ago, and then I kind of did the math. I call her Jessica in the book, so I'll call her Jessica here. And she was unsuccessfully trying to get customers by creating content and engaging people on Instagram. This is work, what she was doing. And the success of what she was doing has to be analyzed with that in mind. Now, if you just enjoy Instagram, if you like creating content, if you're on there because it's fun, totally cool. But if you're on there because you want to build a business, you have to analyze it in those terms, don't you? Now, Jessica, I can't remember the exact numbers, but if Jessica had like 20,000 followers and she had something like 8 clients and she had tens of thousands of posts. So if she would actually calculate how much money she's made in exchange for the hundreds or probably thousands of hours she spent on Instagram, it would be far below the poverty line. For example, this is just the basic math that I did based off of some assumptions. If her average lifetime customer value for her 6 clients, I guess there were 6 clients, not 8, is $350, and she spent 1,000 hours building her business on Instagram, she made $2.10 per hour. And that doesn't include the time she spent actually serving those clients, by the way. Now, I don't know Jessica's numbers, but I'm confident in saying that the value creation mismatch between her and Instagram is pretty outrageous. And the reason for that is that social media is designed to be so addicting that every time a following goes up or gasp doesn't go up, it can become an obsession. So much so that we lose sight of the fact that we're working tirelessly creating free content for these companies and getting negligible returns of trading our 9 to 5 for a 24/7. I don't hate the platforms. Nobody's evil. There's nothing wrong with social media. But if the goal, and if the goal is to get famous, there's never been a more effective tool. For most of us, though, what I just described represents a simple goal misalignment. Because our goal is to spend as little time as possible on the platform and leverage it to build a business elsewhere. The platform's goal is for you to never leave the platform. Both of you are playing different games. And so what I want to talk about now, teach you now, is how to use social media for our goals and not the platform's goals. And it starts with an understanding that every single post that you put up should have a purpose. If you're using social media to build your business, every post you put up should have a purpose. Now, that purpose might be to gain followers. That purpose might be to have a lot of people see this post. That's fine. But if that's all you do, you're going to be rich with likes and poor with dollars. It's going to be great for the ego. It's going to be bad for the wallet. So we've spoken about this before. There's 3 types of content that you want to post on, call it Instagram. There's viral, there's value, and there's depth posts. Viral is basically what gets new followers, right? You post it in the hopes that it's going to get a lot of likes, it's going to get a lot of shares, it's going to bring new eyeballs to your page. Value is going to help somebody solve their problem or at least take one step forward, and as a result, then perhaps want to work with you. And then depth just builds like a stronger connection to you. Okay? But the goal of all of this, if you're a coach, is actually to have a conversation, isn't it? The goal of anything that I do on Instagram, because I've built up a decently, there are people who have built up bigger Instagram followings than me, but I built up a decently big Instagram following, and I really don't like Instagram very much. And I refuse to play the game of Instagram. And so that's why I write words and I don't dance like a monkey. But my goal on there is to have a conversation with as many people as possible. Now, that conversation might lead to a sale today. That conversation might be just meeting somebody interesting. Or that conversation might be, hey, you're not quite right for something that we sell right now, but I'm going to try to help you so that when you become right for something that we sell, I'm the obvious choice. To the point where we actually have gone back to people who have applied for our services in 2020, 4 years ago now. And we engaged them and asked them how they're doing and sent them materials. And we follow up with people all throughout. Like, if you talk to us, we'll try to follow up with you and try to help you along your journey. Well, lo and behold, those people who we followed up with from 4 years ago are now ready, right? That's going to be the easiest sales call you're ever going to make. And so this is what happens as time goes on, as you have more and more of these conversations. The goal is always, though, to have a conversation. So at the beginning, before your account reaches a big enough size, you're probably going to skew much more on viral type content. So that's most of what you see people trying to do. The viral content that you post really quick is you want to be a champion for something. So you're not necessarily, the viral content is not necessarily problem solving is not necessarily like, here's how you do this, here's how you achieve this. It's you're a champion of an idea. You're a champion of sustainable fitness. You're a champion of overcoming. You're a champion of making it work with a bunch of kids at home. You're a champion of something that people can rally around. And you want to make a whole bunch of statements that allow people who are also similar to you to articulate what they care about, what they want to be a champion of, what they want others to know about themselves through your content. Because despite what your immediate bubble or circle might lead you to believe, the vast majority of people on social media never create their own content. They certainly never create content that is ever anything that is going to share why. They create stuff that, is sharing their life. And so if you're somebody who creates content, champion an idea that they are passionate about, and you can go to my Instagram page, you can see this type of stuff. Like, it's not the stuff that has the most likes on my page are generally statements that are very strong statements that are champions of things that I believe in. And people who agree with that, great. And some people don't agree with that, and that's fine. And, sometimes they think that my page is an airport and announce their departure. But other times they just leave, which is also fine.
That is my favorite thing in any group or page. It's like, so this place is terrible. I'm leaving. Like, nobody's going to notice. Bye. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I like to say, you were here? Question mark. That really pisses people off.
You were who?
You were here this whole time?
Or you just correct their grammar. That's the greatest passive aggressive move that you could possibly take.
It's the most Canadian thing.
Screenshot it, circle in red.
That's right. Yes. And so that's the only reason that I bring that up is where I'm at with my page now, because I've been doing predominantly viral stuff for, really probably 2 years now. The page is big enough that I really don't need to do as much viral. I can do a lot more value. I can do a lot more conversation starting type stuff. If you're newer, call it underneath 10,000 followers, like engaged followers, not bullshit. I bought these followers, like engaged followers. Then you probably want to skew more towards value. You probably want to do 5 or 6 viral posts to every value post. Where I'm at now, it's kind of like 1 for 1. Because I really could not be fucked if a single person follows my page ever again. I kind of get that it's naturally going to happen, which makes it easier to say, but I kind of got to this point where I woke up one day, and this is why I stopped posting for 2 months. Because I was like, what are we doing here? You kind of get to this point where you're like, okay, so today I'm going to wake up and try to get likes again? Is that what I'm doing? I'm just, to what end? Right? Why? And so what I did is I devised a new system where I said, what if the likes, what if the viral stuff is kind of secondary now? It's kind of always there in the background. And we focus more on having conversations, which is what I'm going to talk to you about. And so what I did is I turned my Instagram into a machine for giving people value and using that value to get people who put their hand up, give them an opportunity to go deeper with me, and also at the same time attempt to engage them in a conversation. And the conversation, like I said, is usually around whether they might be right for our services, like a couple quick questions about whether they might be right for our services. But even if they're not, legitimately asking about them and then trying to give them or send them something that's going to help them take the next step. It might be PDF, might be an article, might be whatever. So what I use is a whole bunch of different giveaways. Call them ethical bribes, call them content upgrades. It doesn't have to be anything new, though. This is the biggest misconception that people have with these things. It doesn't have to be something big. In fact, bigger stuff often works worse. We'll talk about that in a second. And it doesn't need to be anything new. It might be a YouTube. If for example, we have a couple in the online trainer mentorship that have been creating YouTube videos for years. Basically, they just started doing YouTube videos during COVID-19. And the YouTube stuff picked up, and they were trying to build up their Instagram, and they were like, what can we do? I was like, You have all these YouTube videos, and you have all the data on the YouTube videos to know which ones were most popular. Great. Pick one from each category. It was like, hamstring mobility. It was all this type of stuff like that. And you have the exact words of the titles of the stuff that was popular. You just promise people that you'll send them a video on a thing. Doesn't matter that it's already on YouTube, because the value of what you're creating here is not some hidden magical behind a paywall or behind an email opt-in piece of content. What you're doing is you're curating for them a solution to their problem right now. That's the value that you're providing. And so most of what I give away actually is stuff you can just find for free on the internet anyway. It's older episodes of this podcast on specific topics. It's articles on the PTDC that we maybe have turned into PDFs. And then I have my books too, but that might or might not apply to you. The important thing is that it solves a very specific problem, and you don't have more than one thing that solves the same problem. There's kind of no point in that. So, for example, what I did is I took 9 different things of mine and I turned them into content upgrades. Now, that's probably too many for you right now. The reason why I took 9 is we already have data because we've kind of been doing some of this stuff. But I took 9 different things. So I think it was 4 different podcast episodes. I think it might have been 3 books and then 2 PDFs, I think was mine, on 9 different topics. And I built automations around them. And I'll talk to you about exactly how that's built. But the key thing here is that now whenever I create a piece of content, every single thing, if I wanted to, has a very logical upgrade where people can put their hand up and say, yeah, I want to go deeper with you. And I'll talk to you about exactly how that is put together in a second. But first, I want to see if Ren or Amber have any questions or anything that I kind of missed in this, I don't know, call it like scene setting monologue.
Well, when you talked about the subject of today's podcast, making money through Instagram, I actually thought this was going to be an OnlyFans podcast. So
right, yeah,
everything I'm learning here is new. So just keep surprising me. I'm already lost.
Well, I mean, it could be. You know how OnlyFans makes their money? Like OnlyFans models make their money.
Me? Oh,
they go on TikTok and Instagram and basically tease and say, if you want more, come over here and Reddit. If you want more, come over.
It's an opt-in offer.
It's actually the same thing. And what's interesting is that I started building these automations, and like, I'm good at this stuff. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. I could build automations like the back of my hand. And what I've realized is that the simple ones are actually the ones that work best. And I'll tell you exactly how mine are built with the tech, everything, right? I'll talk to you about that.
You are good at it, John. You're not good at most things, but I have to say objectively, you're very good at this.
I have on any given day tens of thousands, if not 100,000 little messages that go out to different people for different reasons, automated. Just like tiny little robots working for me. And that's how I scale without people. That's how one of the ways that we're able to make this business so profitable and also add value is because, I learned how to use these things. And it was funny because Allison was like, haven't things changed? Like, you were doing this back in the day, like a blog and like a PDF, like email thing. I was like, it's the same shit. It's the same thing. You create a piece of content on the front end that's superficial, that gets attention, that highlights a very specific problem. You show people in that piece of content that you understand them, and then you promise them, if they want more, to come over here with you. And you do that in exchange for an email. It's the same thing. Doesn't matter what medium you're using. OnlyFans is the same thing, right? Here's a little bit of my tit. You want more of this? Come over here. Pay me.
You check tit off my bingo card for today.
Well, what I've always been surprised about is how like every generation seems to be different parts of the boob is like what you can tease people with, right? Like when I was growing up, it was very much the top of the boob that
cleavage.
People would show off. Yeah. And then there was a period where it was the side boob, and then there was a period where it was the under boob.
This is true.
And I was like, when did the underboob get to be a thing?
It's a very good analysis, John.
Yeah. It must use tape or something, right? Because like you can, yeah. Anyway. So I guess they're showing underboob now? I don't know.
Rotate, yes.
High-waisted pants and underboob, I think, is what the young kids do now.
I saw them in concert once.
Did you? Yeah, high-waisted pants and
underboob. Yeah, they've been touring southern U.S. since like 2023. High-waisted pants and underboob. It's great.
Yeah, I mean they're very well. They're very clearly a Southern California. I think they were at Burning Man.
They started at Burning Man.
They started at Burning Man.
So the band was put together originally, Burning Man.
So, okay. So how do you do this type of thing? And by the way, you can even use old posts of yours on your Instagram as content upgrades, as ethical bribes. Yes. Like if you have a post of yours on Instagram that was like a really valuable post, even if it didn't get a lot of engagement, because valuable posts often don't, but it was like a super helpful thing, you can actually give that away in exchange for an email and just direct people to it. Again, the value here is in the curation of the content for a specific person. Everybody knows that they can get this stuff for free on the internet. It's a matter of them trusting you, and it's a matter of you making their life easier and delivering it in a medium that is convenient and conducive to what they're doing. And actually, that's a very good point, that the medium actually does matter. I'll talk to you about that in a second as well. I have that on my notes. So I use mostly humans. I actually, all of the conversations are always with humans. But the initial message is often sent via an automation. And so the way that it works is a service called ManyChat. And ManyChat is, it costs money, but it's not expensive because there's actually an automation that I built into ManyChat that unsubscribes people after a period of time. ManyChat, basically, you pay for a user. And you won't get banned for using it because it's approved by Meta. And ManyChat actually has built into it things that don't allow you to do stuff that goes against Meta, so Facebook, Instagram's rules and regulations. So the way that it works is that you have a specific keyword that if people comment or people message you with, it launches an automation. Now, that automation could be a whole bunch of different things. Mine is super simple. If you go on a post and it says, hey, comment the word, I think it was Ignite123. Then I'll send you a copy of my book, Ignite the Fire. And so you could try this. Go onto my Instagram on any post, doesn't matter which one, and comment Ignite123, all as one word. And you will get a direct message from me pretty much right away that says, hey, got your book on personal training here. Here's the link of where to get it. And what it does is it sends you to a page that I've set up on my website where you can enter a new email. And you enter in that email, and then you're into my email marketing system. And again, I'll talk to you about how these automations work. And then following that message says, real quick, do you mind just replying, got it, if you got this, just so I know that you got this message. Okay. Let me talk to you about the specifics with ManyChat first, with how to set up this automation. Then I'll talk to you about why that message is composed the way that it is. And then I'll talk to you about the landing pages on the website. And then I'll talk to you about ActiveCampaign, which I use for my email marketing. So ManyChat, how you use it, how you set it up is, the way that I've done it is there are very specific keywords that have to be unique, that are not used in any other place. Because what I want to do is I want to build something, I want to market once and I want to sell twice. So I want to build an automation once that I'm going to be able to use 5 years from now. What I want to do is I want my entire Instagram feed to have tons of these posts that all have calls to action that work for me. So that if somebody's scanning my feed a year from now, they hit a post that I put up today and they comment, it's still going to fire the same automation. This is only possible if you have unique terms that are keywords. Hence why it's like Ignite123. because you're never going to use that in any other capacity. So the way that I've set it is an automation launches in ManyChat to deliver, for example, Ignite the Fire, and it launches anytime that anybody uses the term Ignite 123 in a comment on any post. Now, what I also do is if I'm putting a specific post up promoting Ignite the Fire, what I'll do is I'll account for typos, because people will often do Ignite space 123, in which case the other automation won't catch them. The problem is that the word Ignite might be used somewhere else, and I don't want it to falsely fire the automation. So Ignite 123 is across all posts. The word Ignite I make specific to that one post, so it catches for typos. Okay? And then it fires a single message. That's it. There's nothing else that the automation does. It fires one message, and that one message says, the first line has to very clearly, like, just, hey, got your whatever. Right? Like, don't get fancy with this stuff. Got your whatever. Got your book on personal training. Here's where you get it. Link to this page. And then the next line is reply got it. And I say reply got it because when you're trying to engage somebody in a conversation, what you have to do is you have to use the lowest barrier of entry for that person to reply back to you. You don't say, tell me how you doing, tell me how your weekend is, because that puts the onus on them to come up with something to say. If they just say got it, we have like an 80% reply rate. And then we go back and we have a conversation. So sometimes we'll have had a conversation beforehand. Sometimes then we'll just say, oh, very cool. Like, what are you hoping to accomplish with this book? Or like, hey, you're training people already. You're training people online already. In your case, like, hey, do you have tight hips? Oh, is your back hurt? Oh, you're already lifting weights. Do you already have a workout program? Whatever it is, right? Because now you're actually in a conversation, and now you can go back and forth with this person and very quickly figure out whether they might be right for a phone call now, whether you might be able to send them something else if they're not. And what happens is a number of things there. Number one, now they've spoken to a real human, which is like immediately you're in the top 1% of people that they engage with on the internet. But also, when you have a DM conversation with somebody back and forth, the algorithm now recognizes you as being more relevant to them and they being interested in you, meaning that your posts now in the future and your stories will get shown to them with a higher frequency. So you see, when I say that this is a machine, it all works together. So this message is delivering something valuable to them. They're going to enter in their email on a landing page. You're having a conversation with them that might turn into a sale right away or a phone call, but also it's going to make the rest of your content more relevant to them, which is going to get shown to them. And so it just works, and it's a flywheel. Right?
It's a know, like, and trust cocktail.
A know, like, and trust cocktail. I believe that they serve those at the underboob and high-waisted pants concert.
I had 3 of them
at Burning Man.
And it was so crazy. I don't really, we don't have time, but you're right. Yes. One of my favorites. Jonathan, do you inhale when you drink that pop? When you drink that cola? So for the people that don't watch the podcast, when you hear Jonathan pause, oftentimes there's as we say in the American South, a swig of cola that he inhales. But as soon as this cola is gone down, he's right back to his verbiage. And I'm just wondering, are you able to inhale through your nose as you also drink the drip drop of cola? And then just
because I can't breathe. Oh,
yeah. I mean, are you?
I've never thought about it, but now I will, and I'm sure I'll be distracted by that.
You'll probably choke, but it's a seamless transition with the pause, drink, and right back into the conversation.
I do like the Coca-Cola Sin Azúcar. I do like these mini cans of Coke Zero.
Oh, that's right, because there's no Zucar. No más Zucar in La Cola.
Poco Azúcar. No Azúcar, yeah. Refresco Sin Azúcar. Yep.
It's riveting.
My father was very impressed by my Spanish when we were in Oaxaca, by the way.
Oh, was he?
He was very impressed. He's like, you actually speak Spanish really well. I'm like, yeah, like in context. Like if I'm at a restaurant or something like that, I can absolutely speak. But if somebody starts talking about anything other than what I expect them to talk about, I just give this like, Ingles.
Our missing friend Catalina Balmara's mother is still holding out hope for that Spanish episode of the now defunct online trainer show, John. So
yeah, one day. So for anybody who has not done business on the internet, a landing page, an email opt-in page, I'm sure that you've seen these things. Basically, they're very, very simple pages that promise you something in exchange for your email. And so I won't get into the nitty gritty of like exactly all of the nuts and bolts of this thing, but the simpler the better. Generally, you want to have some sort of a headline at the top that's going to make some sort of a promise based off of a benefit of what it's going to help them with. You're going to make it very clear what you're going to deliver to them. You're going to have some sort of a PS statement underneath to catch people who are just kind of like mindlessly scrolling. Like PS, here's what you also get, you 13 things to whatever. And then you just have a box for the person to enter in their email, and then usually a phrase underneath of, because this is like anti-spam act, you need to tell somebody how often you're going to email them and what they're going to receive. So if you go to any of my pages in very small print underneath the form where you put your thing, it says, you'll get 1 email a week in addition to occasional promotional messages. You can unsubscribe anytime, right? And then you need a privacy policy at the bottom of your page linked. That's it. It's a really simple formula that works really well for these things. I mean, again, just like type Ignite 123 on any of my posts on Instagram in one word, and you'll get the message and you'll see it. And all that I do is I create it once, and then I just clone these things. And the same thing with the ManyChat automations. Like I create the automation once, and then I just clone it and put in different words, right? And so I don't get fancy with the design. I don't do any split testing. I don't do anything like that. I just build the thing as well as I could once and then just let it work. So all of these different giveaways have a landing page. And so this might be for a PDF, which is basically an article on the PTDC, like about programming. I did one the other day about programming. And it's just an article that was on the PTDC that we just turned into a PDF. You could find that article on the PTDC if you wanted to. And it's the same for a podcast episode. You could find the podcast episode. It's in the podcast feed. But again, the value is in the curation of the thing. And so this squeeze page, it's called, because it squeezes the email out of you. This squeeze page, in exchange for your email, then sends you a thing. So what happens is when somebody enters in their email, you press submit, the email goes into now an email automation system or an email marketing system. I use ActiveCampaign. You can use a whole bunch of different ones that allow automated messaging. And then all that I have there is the way that I've designed my system is I have one central introductory sequence. That's one message that basically just says, hey, I'm John. Welcome. Looks like you're new here. Here's the things that I do. Here's where you're going to hear from me. Whatever. And then what I have is all of these 9, well, I have other automations for other stuff, but basically every automation then is built as an individual automation separate. So you enter in your email into that form. There's an initial check to see whether you're in my system or not. If you are in my system, it sends you down one path that says, hey, welcome back. Here's the thing you requested. End. If you're not already in my system, goes down a different branch that just says, hey, so good to see you. Here's the thing you requested. In addition, I'm going to be in touch in 5 minutes or so with just a quick intro message. And then what it does is it gives them the tag to say, okay, now they're in my list. And then it sends them to that introductory sequence. So basically, you've got one central place, and then I can just build an unlimited amount of additional, very simple one-message automations that all just feed back into that one central place. And then moving forward, I'll send a blog post if I write it. I'll send promo stuff if there's promo stuff. And then I'll send the 5 Reps Friday messages to them via email. That's the entire automation. That's it. I don't have any long follow-up stuff anymore. For the Online Trainer Academy, I do. If you go to like the sales page for the Online Trainer Academy and you ask for a sample of the textbook, then there's like more of a nurture long-winded sequence, but that's a conversation for a different day. That's more complicated than this. And then what happens is when you apply got it, we have a conversation with you in Instagram. Because where you want to have a conversation with somebody is where they already are. So some people are never going to talk to us on Instagram. That's fine. They're on the email list. Every once in a while, we'll send stuff that says, hey, if you want to book a call here. But most people we have conversations with on Instagram, and it's exactly what I just talked to you about. Like, this is the entire system. This is the masterclass. This is the framework of how to make money on Instagram. Is every post has a purpose. That purpose might be to gain an audience. That purpose might be some sort of a content upgrade where they comment a word. You send them some sort of a bonus. That bonus might even be just an old post. You get them ideally into an email system, although you could even skip that step if you wanted to and just send them a direct link to the thing in the ManyChat automation. You could skip the email stuff altogether if you wanted to. I don't recommend it, but you could. And then you just follow up and talk to them, talk to humans, right? And I mean, in terms of the actual DM conversations to phone call and stuff, that goes beyond the scope of this. But that's a lot of what we teach in the online trainer mentorship for sure. And you can just go to onlinetrainermentorship.com and fill out an application if you want to talk to us about that. But really the crux of it is you want to ask them what they want to achieve. And if they seem like they'll fit their program, you say, sounds like this might be worth a phone call. And you jump on the phone with them. Now, at the same time that I'm doing this, and I'll give you my schedule for the week, because I do this as a combination of posts in the feed and Instagram stories. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this. And the reason for that is simple. I'll tell you a story quickly. There was this is an example from like a telecom company, I think in the UK, where an advertising agency was asked to increase their what's called lift, increase their response rate to a new deal that they were sending out. And so they sent letters. And they sent 3 different types of letters, so 3 different test groups. The first group, and this was for like an upgrade of the service, right? So the first test group was if you are interested in the service, then I can't remember what it was. Maybe send us an email or mail us back a check, I think it was. If you're interested in this is a while ago, right? So if you're interested in the service.
That or fax.
Yeah. So one of them was a check. So mail us back a check. The second letter was, if you're interested in the service, send us a fax. And the third letter said, if you're interested in the service, mail us a check or send us a fax. So you see how those are different, right? One option, the other option, and then an option of both options. And the response rate was something like 2% mailed a check, 0.75% responded to a fax, and then 2.75% responded to mail us a check or send a fax. And what that showed very clearly is that different people respond to different mediums and take action in different ways. And it's additive. The type of person who's going to mail a check is not the type of person who's going to respond to a fax, and vice versa. So it's worth it to have more responses. And we've figured this out via Instagram. There are people who respond to my stories, and there are people who respond to my feed-based posts, and it's not the same person. And so when we started doing this in the feed, we started having conversations with people we've never heard from that have been following our page for like a year, 2 years, 3 years. And the reason for that is they're just not the type of person who looks at stories or responds to stories for whatever reason. And so it's worth it at the same time that you're putting out a call to action in the feed at the end of like a content post. It's worth it to also put out a story that has the same offer, because it's actually going to be different people responding. And you can do the exact same thing, reply to this whatever for this thing, right?
One thing that I like that John does is that he always has a good mix of what might be more viral content front facing on Instagram. It's pretty consistent that there's going to be a text box post. Those things travel well. I don't know why, but the Twitter style, whatever, X style post. But there's also always continuity with the stories post on the other side, with highlighting a problem, telling you why it's a problem, telling you I've actually already solved this, and then inviting you to get the solution by commenting below. And I've started to mimic that, and it's been really successful. And number one, making sure that people are paying attention to the front face of my Instagram, the posting,
Yep.
but also getting them to take action on the backside. And I've really minimized the amount of stories that I post in the course of a day. Something else that John mentioned in our groups. And there is way more, although Instagram encourages you to post a lot of stories, if you just post that one sort of call to action story, it travels tremendously well on its own without another story.
A single story I have found gets exponentially more reach than multiple stories. And I don't know why. It must have to do with how the algorithm's set. And I don't like to try to game the algorithm, but this one makes such a big difference that I like. If you notice, I almost never post more than one story at a time, and I let it expire, and then I post the next one. And the reason for that is I've just seen it has way more reach. Like if I post 4 or 5 stories of just like what's going on with my day, or like, something that's going on with my day, and then like a promo, and then something else that's going on with my day, or whatever it is, they'll get 2,000 or 3,000 reach, so they'll hit like 2,000 or 3,000 people, which is like 1% of my audience, right, of my following. If I post a single slide that is either what I call a depth-based post, and I'll talk to you about that in a second, or a call to action for like a podcast or whatever it is, it'll be anywhere from 25 to 50,000 person reach. It'll have a 5 to 10 times lift on the amount of people that it reaches. And I think that's probably because part of what the algorithm does is it tries to see how much people like to engage and also finish pieces of content. Mm-hmm. And so the more stories that you have, the less people finish those stories, right? And also, if you're asking people to reply to a story, you're getting tremendous amounts of engagement on that story. And then the story will get shown to more and more and more people. So it does act as very much a flywheel for sure. So I'll almost never post more than one story. Let me tell you. Let me finish with what I'm doing in terms of my split with content, just so you can really kind of see how this works. Actually, one quick thing first, and then I'll finish with that, is I like to really systematize this stuff. So I talked to you about the email squeeze pages and the automations and everything. I build it once, and then I just duplicate it, and I fit in the same thing. I do the same thing with the captions. So if you go to my Instagram, I'm at It's Coach Goodman on there. What you'll see in these captions for these types of posts is they're all in the exact same format, and they start with giveaway. So you want to catch people above the feed. And so it starts with giveaway and has like little emoji. And then in bold, it has, and you can just Google search like how to bold words on Instagram. And you just basically put it into like this little web application and then copy and paste it. And so in bold, it says like free gift, what the thing is, and then how to get it, boom, boom, boom. And then usually 1 or 2 lines of like why you should want it. And then I repeat again how to get it. And what I did is I just wrote all of those once. And I use like, guys, this is how much of a Neanderthal I am. I don't use any productivity apps. I don't use any of that shit. I use the notes on my iPhone. And so I have a folder in the notes on my iPhone that, of course, goes into my computer too, that I just call content upgrades. And I have one note for each content upgrade. And in that, it says parent keyword, post-specific keyword, so basically like misspellings of the thing. And then I have the caption. And the caption's pre-written. And so all that I do then is, if I'm doing a post, I just copy and paste the content upgrade caption, and then I'll put, if there's another caption underneath it that's like specific to the content of the post, I'll put that underneath there. But I've pre-written all these things. And they all the exact same format with stuff slipped in and out. Because again, I just want to milk it once and sell twice. So,
John, can I interject something really, really quickly before you go on? I'll be really brief. This is why it's so important to know who you're talking to. I just want to undergird this entire mess with that. Like what John's describing.
Wait. Hold up. You want to undergird?
Undergird.
What did you say?
Undergird.
What the heck is an undergird?
That's a foundation. You put a foundation under a thing. Look at it.
No way.
UNDERGIRD. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, go on. You're saying something
I
nice about me.
read
Go on.
hundreds of comic books a day, John, and I'm sure Spider-Man said that once. But
I have the definition: undergird, secure or fasten from the underside, especially by a rope or chain passed from underneath. So, example, that's a philosophy that needs to undergird retailers' business plans.
And there you have it, folks.
Wow. Wow.
I beat the author on this episode.
I got schooled. Go on.
Proceed. But I want to say that what John's describing is maddening, if not impossible, if you're trying to be a generalist in your category. There's no way you can set up enough of this stuff for everybody who wants to, quote unquote, get fit. So this is just another example of how knowing who you're talking to makes it easier for you to do better things for your business. That's all I got.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. So here's how I break up my posts over the course of a week. And what I love about this is it allows me to build it way in advance. Like, it's Tuesday now, and yesterday I wrote all of the posts for the week, and I'm done. And, I could do it 3 or 4 weeks in advance if I wanted to, because I know exactly what I'm going to be putting out, because every post has a purpose, right? So and I'll tell you my schedule, but depending where you're at, this may or may not apply to you. You may need a little bit more viral. I go heavier with the content upgrade type stuff. So Monday is a content upgrade post. Now, what that means is it's generally a value add post with a promise for people who want to continue to put their hand up to get something that's a deeper exploration of that same subject. So it's not a straight pitch for a thing. Instead, it is a valuable post on a topic that otherwise would not get very much engagement. And then it's saying comment if you want the thing. And I know that these posts are not going to get very many likes. I know that these posts are not going to get very many shares. What they do is they get a lot of comments, which helps them get seen by more people in my audience. But they allow people who are following me to put their hand up to go deeper. Okay? So Monday is content upgrade post. Tuesday and Wednesday are viral posts. And on Thursday, I do another content upgrade post. Might be, again, the same type of thing. It might be more of a straighter pitch for something. On either Wednesday or Thursday, we do a story that is a pitch for one of the podcast episodes. So it's basically a different content upgrade for a podcast episode. So if you're following, basically Monday to Thursday, we're doing 3 different calls to action for pieces of content. Because Monday is a content upgrade post in the feed where we're also going to be promoting that in the story. Either Tuesday or Wednesday, there's going to be a story promotion for a podcast. Thursday, there's going to be a content upgrade post, which is also going to have a promotion in the story. Saturday and Sunday, there's probably going to be one viral post. And then on Friday, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one piece from my 5 Reps Friday email after the email goes out and basically say, put it in the story with a picture and say, this is from my 5 Reps Friday. If you want to get the next one, go here. And then on Sunday, I have basically call it like a weekly lesson. Like what I do is I try to think about like, what's one thing, it might not be something new that I learned, but what's one thing that I'm like thinking about a lot this week? And I share that on Sunday. And so what that does is that allows for the depth. The 5 Reps Friday is often something personal, but the weekly lesson is almost always something personal. And then throughout the week, if there's a space in the story, I might post, whatever's going on with our family, with our travels, with whatever. But that's how I've split it up over the course of the week. Right? We have basically 3 promos. We have basically 3 viral pieces. And it's all a flywheel, right? It attracts people on Instagram. It takes those people that it attracted, gets them into conversations, gets them on an email list, gets them to our podcast. And it's generally not going to be the same people on each. Like if you're listening to this podcast, you might or might not be on my email list. It's just, again, different people seem to like to play in different areas. And so you might not do all these things that we're doing, but then the extra engagement on the stories and on the posts helps the viral stuff get seen by more people, which increases the shares, which brings more people. And it's just this continuous flywheel that all leads to the one most important thing if you want to make money on Instagram, which is to have conversations with real people. How'd I do, guys?
Man, that was awesome.
Good.
I took a note.
What was your note?
Underboob.
Whole note.
I think let me see here. Underboob. Yeah, underboob. Yeah, that's what it was.
They want to forget. After
we know John's note is undergird.
Undergird.
Oh, you're all under today.
I issue a challenge that you figure out how to fit that into your Instagram this week.
I'm not going to do that. I do like those challenges, though. Well, there's a comedian. His name is Dimitri Martin, and I've seen him live. He's hilarious. And one of the things, he was at Harvard Law School, because comedians are always brilliant. They're always like the smartest people on the planet. Have to be. And so he basically was at Harvard Law School and was just bored out of his mind because it was just too easy for him. And so he would just play games. So he would make 3D cryptic crosswords by hand just in class, just because he was bored.
Jesus.
And he would play games. And part of the games that he'd play with everybody else was they would try to insert words into, I guess, case reports, and they wouldn't tell their professors.
Nice.
And so they'd have to like insert the word cupcake into one of their reports. And so the whole class would know it. So they'd, yeah, and Peterson versus Smith, 1931, the precedent for this case is this. And so what happened was that Peterson was at his house probably eating cupcake, and the whole class would be like, oh!
Inside jokes are the best.
It was funny, man.
Especially community inside jokes.
Yeah, it was funny. Okay, I'm going to recommend another episode, guys, and then we can get out here for the day. I think that's the pod. I'm going to recommend you check out episode 175. This was actually an interview that I did with Alex Catoni. She's a copywriter, and she's great. We had a great conversation. We just align on a lot of things. I mean, the title of the episode is How Customers Are Buying Today. Really what this is it's kind of a masterclass on copywriting for the modern day internet. She what was the one that she did? Oh man, what was the company? It's one of the biggest course companies, Mind Valley. So she was one of the very early hires at Mind Valley, and basically was their lead copywriter and built a lot of their ads, and I think built their entire email marketing system, and then broke off on her own, is now a consultant. And anyway, I think she's rad. Hung out a bunch of times in real life too. So check out that episode 175. Alex Catoni is her name. It's an interview with her, with myself, and it's called How Customers Are Buying Today, really like a masterclass in copywriting for the modern day internet. And again, remember, if you want to copy that free book, The Wealthy Hippo's Guide to Getting Clients and Referrals, please rate, review this podcast, take a screenshot, and send me an email with that screenshot to obviouschoicepod@gmail.com. That's in the description too if you just want to copy and paste that email. Thanks so much. Talk soon.